Picture a normal Tuesday afternoon. You are stopped at a red light. In the left lane, there is a brand new black luxury SUV. The paint is flawless. The windows are tinted. The badge on the front is the kind everybody recognizes. It looks expensive, powerful, successful. Then in the right lane, there's an older Honda, maybe 10 years old. A small dent on the bumper, a coffee cup sitting on the dashboard. Nothing about it screams wealth. Nothing about it asks for attention. Now be honest. If you had to guess which driver was richer, your eyes would probably choose the luxury SUV. Most people would. But here is the strange truth. In modern America, the safer bet may actually be the person in the old Honda. The person in the luxury SUV may look successful, but they could be buried under payments. They may have a huge car loan, a stretched mortgage, credit card debt, and almost no emergency savings. The person in the older car may look ordinary, but they might have no car payment, a growing investment account, and enough cash to handle life without panic. That is the illusion this video is about. We have been trained to confuse spending with wealth. We see a new car and assume financial success. We see designer clothes and assume security. We see a beautiful house and assume freedom. But wealth does not always look loud. In fact, real wealth is often quiet. Across the country, many people who look rich are living paycheck to paycheck. A large number of high earners, even people making six figures, still end every month with little or nothing left. Their income is high, but their lifestyle has grown just as fast, sometimes even faster. Meanwhile, some of the people who look simple, boring, or unimpressive from the outside are quietly building real financial power. They are not trying to win a status contest. They are trying to win freedom. And that difference changes everything. Because financial stability does not come from looking successful. It comes from having control over your money. It comes from owning more than you owe. It comes from keeping a wide gap between what you earn and what you spend. It comes from making decisions that your future self will thank you for. The wealthy have understood this for a very long time. They know that the goal is not to impress strangers at a stoplight. The goal is to have options. The goal is to sleep well. The goal is to be able to say no. So before you chase the appearance of wealth, ask yourself one question. Do you want to look rich or do you want to be free? Because those are not always the same path. To understand why so many people fall into this trap, we need to understand what spending is really doing. Most purchases are not just about the object. A car is not always just transportation. A watch is not always just a tool for telling time. A house is not always just a place to live. A vacation photo is not always just a memory. Very often, these things are signals. They are messages we send to the world. They say, I made it. They say, I am successful. They say, I belong here. They say, you should respect me. Human beings are wired to read status. For most of history, status mattered for survival. People wanted to know who had resources, who had protection, and who was powerful enough to align with. That instinct never disappeared. It simply changed form. Today, the signals are logos, cars, homes, phones, restaurants, and social media photos. We are surrounded by objects that promise identity. Buy this, and people will see you differently. Wear this, and you will feel important. Drive this, and you will look like you have arrived. But there is a cruel problem. Everyone else is performing too. The people you are trying to impress are often too busy worrying about their own image to even notice yours. You are spending money for an audience that may not actually be paying attention. This creates a treadmill. You buy the better car. For a short time, it feels exciting. Then it becomes normal. You upgrade your apartment. For a while, it feels like progress. Then it becomes normal. You buy better clothes, better furniture, better technology, better vacations. Each upgrade gives you a temporary emotional lift. Then the feeling fades, so you need another upgrade. This is lifestyle inflation, and lifestyle inflation is one of the quietest killers of financial stability. It happens when your spending rises every time your income rises. You get a raise, but instead of building more security, you simply build a more expensive life. A higher salary should create breathing room, but for many people, it only creates bigger payments. A raise becomes a nicer car. A bonus becomes a luxury trip. A promotion becomes a bigger house. A better job becomes a more expensive identity. And after all of that, the person still feels trapped. The income went up, but freedom did not. There is also another hidden mechanism that makes spending dangerous. One purchase often demands more purchases. You buy one beautiful chair, and suddenly the old couch looks terrible. Then you want a new rug, then new curtains, then a new coffee table. One upgrade changes the standard of the entire room. The same thing happens with neighborhoods, schools, cars, clothes, and social circles. When you enter a more expensive environment, the pressure follows you. You may start feeling that your old lifestyle no longer fits your new surroundings. This is how one decision becomes 10 decisions. The wealthy, who stay wealthy, usually notice this early. They understand that the cost of a purchase is not only the price tag. The real cost is everything that purchase pulls behind it. That is why minimalist money rules matter. They are not about living badly. They are about refusing to let your lifestyle become a trap. Now let's talk about the real price of appearances. Start with one of the biggest status symbols in American life, the car. A car can be useful. A reliable car can help you work, travel, and take care of your family. But the problem starts when the car becomes more than transportation. It becomes proof. Proof that you are successful. Proof that you are moving up. Proof that you are not behind. That proof can be incredibly expensive. New vehicle prices have climbed to record levels. Monthly car payments have become heavier than many people realize. Some buyers now accept payments that are close to a rent bill. Many people stretch loans over 6 or 7 years just to make the monthly number look manageable. But a long loan does not make a car cheaper. It only spreads the pain. And cars lose value quickly. A new car can lose a large portion of its value in the first year. After a few years, many owners owe more than the vehicle is worth. They are paying interest on value that has already disappeared. That means the real cost of the car is not just the payment. It is the interest. It is the insurance. It is the maintenance. It is the depreciation. It is the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the money you could have used for something else. Imagine a person paying around $750 a month for a new car. Now imagine that same person driving a reliable paid-off car and investing that $750 every month instead. Over 10 years, that decision could become a large investment balance. Over 30 years, with compounding, it could become life-changing money. So the choice is not simply nice car versus boring car. The real choice may be nicer car now versus financial freedom later. That is the part most people do not calculate before signing. The same logic applies to houses. A bigger house is not just a bigger mortgage. It also means higher property taxes, higher insurance, more utilities, more repairs, more furniture, more cleaning, more maintenance, and more pressure to fill empty space with things you did not need before. A large house can quietly multiply your expenses. And then there is credit card debt. Credit cards can be convenient, but they become dangerous when they are used to maintain an image. When people finance clothing, trips, furniture, restaurants, and gadgets at high interest rates, they are not just buying things. They are paying extra for the privilege of pretending those things were affordable. A lifestyle funded by credit cards is not wealth. It is borrowed appearance. The interest keeps growing long after the excitement of the purchase is gone. This is why so many people feel exhausted even when their income looks good on paper. Their money is already promised before it arrives. Car payments, credit card minimums, mortgages, subscriptions, insurance, personal loans, and lifestyle expenses take the paycheck apart before it can build anything. The person may look successful, but financially they are standing on thin ice. This is the brutal cost of looking rich. You trade future options for present appearances, and the more you do it, the harder it becomes to escape. Income is loud. Net worth is quiet. Income is what people can guess. Net worth is what they cannot see. Someone may earn $200,000 a year and still own almost nothing if they spend nearly all of it. Another person may earn far less but quietly save and invest for years. From the outside, the high earner may look richer, but the quiet saver may actually be far wealthier. This is one of the most important distinctions in personal finance. Income is the money flowing in. Wealth is the money you keep. Think of income like water coming through a faucet. Wealth is the water that stays in the tank. A person can have a huge faucet, but if the tank has a hole in it, nothing stays. The money comes in, and the money disappears. Another person may have a smaller faucet, but a sealed tank. They keep a portion of everything they earn. They invest it. They let it grow. Over time, that person becomes financially stronger. The faucet does not decide who becomes wealthy. The tank does. That is why savings rate matters so much. The percentage of income you keep can be more important than the size of the income itself. A high earner who saves nothing can end up broke. A modest earner who saves consistently can become financially independent. Once you understand this, you start seeing the world differently. The neighbor with the new trucks, the boat, the renovated kitchen, and the expensive vacations may be wealthy, or they may be deeply leveraged. You cannot know from the outside. The neighbor with the older car and simple furniture may look average, but they might have a paid-off home, a strong retirement account, and a large emergency fund. This is why real wealth is often invisible. The signals most people associate with wealth are actually signals of spending, and spending and wealth often move in opposite directions. Every dollar that goes into showing off cannot go into building freedom. This is where the idea of stealth wealth becomes powerful. Stealth wealth means having money without needing to display it. It means choosing freedom over approval. It means understanding that the purpose of money is not to make strangers jealous. The purpose of money is to give you control over your life. Many wealthy people do not drive the most expensive cars they could afford. They often buy reliable vehicles, keep them for years, and avoid unnecessary debt. They may live in homes that are modest compared to their net worth. They may wear simple clothes, avoid flashy logos, and spend carefully even when they do not have to. To some people, that looks boring. But boring is often the point. Boring can be stable. Boring can be debt-free. Boring can be a full emergency fund. Boring can be the ability to walk away from a bad job. Boring can be freedom. Looking rich gives you attention. Being rich gives you options, and options are far more valuable. So what do financially stable people actually do differently? The answer is simple, but not always easy. First, they separate income from identity. When their income rises, they do not immediately upgrade their entire life. They do not treat every raise as permission to spend more. Instead, they keep their lifestyle mostly steady and direct the extra money towards savings, investments, or debt reduction. This is one of the most powerful money rules. Live on last year's budget while earning this year's income. That gap becomes your freedom. Second, they pay themselves first. Most people do it backward. They get paid, spend money throughout the month, and try to save whatever is left. But usually, nothing is left. Financially stable people flip the order. They save and invest first, automatically. Before the money feels available, then they live on what remains. This removes the need for constant willpower. Willpower is weak when you are tired, stressed, bored, or emotional. Systems are stronger. Automation makes good decisions happen before bad decisions have a chance. Third, they make spending harder and saving easier. They remove shopping apps. They unsubscribe from marketing emails. They delete saved card numbers. They use waiting periods before buying non-essential items. They give themselves time to cool down before spending. A simple 24-hour rule can stop many impulse purchases. If you still want the item tomorrow, maybe it is worth considering. But if the desire disappears, it was never a real need. Fourth, they drive things until they no longer work. They do not replace a phone just because a newer model exists. They do not trade a reliable car just because the neighbor bought something shinier. They do not replace furniture because of boredom. They define broken by function, not emotion. If it works, it stays. This one habit can save a shocking amount of money over a lifetime. Fifth, they calculate cost per use. A $200 jacket worn twice costs $100 every time you wear it. A high-quality jacket worn 200 times costs $1 per wear. This kind of thinking changes how you buy. Cheap things are not always smart. Expensive things are not always wasteful. The real question is usefulness. Will you actually use it? Will it last? Does it solve a real problem, or is it just a temporary emotional purchase? Sixth, they test before they commit. Many people spend money on the fantasy of a hobby before they know whether they truly enjoy it. They buy cameras, camping gear, gym equipment, instruments, tools, or expensive courses, only to lose interest weeks later. Financially stable people test first. They borrow, they rent, they buy the basic version. They wait to see if the interest survives. If the habit becomes real, then they invest more. Seventh, they define enough. This is one of the hardest rules. If you never define enough, you will always need more. Every raise will create a new standard. Every achievement will move the goalpost. You will keep chasing a finish line that keeps running away from you. But when you define enough in advance, everything above that line can build wealth. Enough house, enough car, enough clothes, enough lifestyle, enough approval. Once enough is clear, freedom becomes possible. Eighth, they mute the comparison machine. A huge amount of modern spending comes from comparison. Social media shows you edited lives, perfect vacations, beautiful homes, luxury purchases, and people performing success from the best possible angle. But you are not seeing the debt. You are not seeing the stress. You are not seeing the arguments. You are not seeing the empty savings account. You are comparing your real life to someone else's advertisement. Financially stable people protect their attention. They stop feeding their insecurity with content designed to make them feel behind. That is not weakness. That is financial self-defense. Everything we have talked about rests on one foundation: financial literacy. Without financial literacy, money rules feel like random restrictions. Spend less, save more, invest early, avoid debt, live below your means. Most people have heard these ideas before, but hearing the advice is not the same as understanding it. When you understand why these rules work, they become much easier to follow. If you understand compounding, you realize that money invested early can grow far more than money invested later. You begin to see every unnecessary payment differently. You start understanding that small monthly decisions are not small when they are repeated for years. If you understand debt, you realize that interest can either work for you or against you. Investments can compound in your favor. Credit card balances can compound against you. One builds your future, the other quietly sells it. If you understand assets and liabilities, you stop judging purchases by how impressive they look. You begin judging them by what they do to your financial position. Does this purchase put money in your pocket? Does it reduce risk? Does it increase freedom? Or does it create another payment? That understanding is what separates people who follow rules temporarily from people who build habits permanently. Two people can hear the same investing advice. One person starts investing consistently and stays calm during market drops because they understand long-term growth. The other person panics when prices fall, sells at a loss, and decides investing is too risky. The advice was the same. The understanding was different. That is why looking modest on purpose is not really about being cheap. It is not about denying yourself a good life. It is about understanding the game clearly enough to stop playing the version designed to keep you broke. The world will constantly invite you to spend money proving something. Prove you are successful. Prove you are stylish. Prove you are not behind. Prove you belong. But the richest move is often the one nobody sees. The automatic investment. The car you keep driving. The house you do not overbuy. the credit card balance you refuse to carry, the raise you do not spend, the comparison you ignore, the money you keep, the freedom you build. Go back to that stoplight one last time. The luxury SUV and the older Honda are sitting side by side. One looks like success, the other looks ordinary, but now you know better. The SUV may represent a big income, or it may represent a big payment. It may signal status, but it does not prove wealth. The Honda may look unimpressive, but it may represent discipline. It may represent no car loan, a growing portfolio, and a person who no longer needs to impress anyone. That is the lesson. The goal is not to look rich. The goal is to become free. And freedom is quiet. It does not need a badge. It does not need a logo. It does not need applause. It does not need an audience. It only needs you to understand the difference between spending and wealth. So the next time you feel pressure to buy something just to prove yourself, pause. Ask yourself what that money could become if you kept it. Ask yourself what option you might be giving away. Ask yourself whether the person you are trying to impress will even remember the purchase next week. Then remember the old Honda. Because sometimes the most powerful financial move you can make is the one nobody notices.